Welcome to a journey through time, to an era when Amsterdam was the center of global trade, a beacon of wealth, innovation, and artistic brilliance. The 1600s, the Dutch Golden Age, when this city of canals and merchants became the richest city in the world. For centuries, these scenes have existed only as engravings and drawings, frozen moments captured by the artists who walked these very streets. But today, thanks to advanced artificial intelligence, we can breathe life back into these historical images, transforming them into vivid, realistic scenes that transport us directly into the past. Let's step into the 17th century and discover the city that changed the world.
Our story begins on the peaceful banks of the Amstel River at Aldurk, just south of Amsterdam. This pastoral scene from 1622 shows the lifeblood of the city, the river that gave Amsterdam its name. Families gather by the water's edge, while fishermen tend their nets and boats glide across the calm surface. Centuries earlier, a dam was built here on the Amstel, giving birth to the city itself. The Amstel was Amsterdam's highway to the world. Goods flowed down this river from inland regions, heading to the city's ports and then across the globe. The church tower in the distance is Aldurk, where many wealthy Amsterdam merchants chose to be buried. This tranquil scene would soon transform as Amsterdam exploded in size and wealth. The peaceful riverbanks giving way to fortifications, warehouses, and relentless urban expansion. We move now to the city's edge, to the imposing fortifications at the Haarlem port, the Haarlem Gate. These massive, earthen ramparts and star-shaped bastions were Amsterdam's shield against the world. The Dutch were locked in the 80 Years' War with Spain, fighting for independence from 1568 to 1648. Amsterdam became a prime target, and these walls were essential for survival. Notice the windmills dotting the ramparts. These weren't grinding grain, they were pumping water. Amsterdam sits below sea level, and keeping the city dry was a constant battle. The Dutch saying, "God created the world, but the Dutch created the Netherlands," captures this engineering triumph perfectly. By the 1600s, Amsterdam was expanding so rapidly that these walls had to be rebuilt multiple times. The city grew in concentric rings of canals. The Heiraft, Keizers and Prinsenraft, the famous canal belt that still defines Amsterdam today. From the gate, we moved to the old harbour basin, where the St. Anoni's Gate appears in the background. This harbour bustled constantly with small vessels, the workhorses of local and regional trade. These weren't the great ocean-going ships bound for the East Indies. These were barges, fishing boats, and canal boats that kept the city fed and supplied. Fresh fish from the Zuiderzee, timber from the Baltic, grain from the Dutch countryside, all passed through harbours like this. Amsterdam's genius was organisation and efficiency. Goods transferred from sea-going vessels to canal boats with remarkable speed. Now we arrive at the main harbour of Amsterdam with its guardhouse standing sentinel. This is where the ocean met the city, where ships from around the world anchored and unloaded their precious cargoes. Look at the forest of masts. Each ship represents a fortune. Spices from the Moluccas, silk from China, furs from Russia, sugar from Brazil, timber from Scandinavia. Amsterdam didn't produce much itself, but mastered the art of being the middleman, buying low and selling high. The guardhouse wasn't just for security. It represented Amsterdam's control over its waters. Ships paid fees, were inspected, and followed strict regulations. The Dutch East India Company, the VOCC, founded in 6002, became the world's first multinational corporation and first to issue stock. At its peak, the VOC employed nearly 70,000 people. Much of its operations flowed through this harbour. These two imposing blockhouses guarded the southern approach to Amsterdam along the Amst. Built as defensive structures in 1651, they protected the city's wealth from Spanish armies, rival Dutch cities, and English naval forces. Amsterdam was at the height of its power, but facing new challenges. The First Anglo-Dutch War would break out just a year later. These blockages were the city's response, serving both as military defense and customs posts, ensuring goods entering via the Amsto paid appropriate duties. Notice the boats passing between them. Trade never stopped, even in times of tension. The Dutch economy depended on open sea lanes, and Amsterdam's merchants had no patience for disruptions to business. But when winter arrived, this same scene transformed completely. The Amstel froze solid, and the blockhouses overlooked a scene of recreation rather than commerce. Wealthy merchants and common labourers alike glided across the ice. The winter freeze was both blessing and curse. Trade slowed, costing revenue, but it made overland travel easier and gave working people rest and celebration. Winter festivals on the ice became legendary. Amsterdam wasn't just about commerce. It was a living city where people found joy and community. Welcome to the new Markt. Dominated by the magnificent Vaar, the Way House, originally St. Anoni's Gate, this castle-like building was repurposed in 1617 as the public Way House and Guild Hall. This is where commerce became official. Every significant transaction involving weighted goods, cheese, grain, gold, spices had to be verified here. The VA ensured fair dealing and collected taxes central to Amsterdam's commercial integrity. The upper floors housed guilds, surgeons, masons, painters. The Surgeons' Guild famously met here, and it was in this building that Rembrandt's The Anatomy lesson of Dr. Nicolai Tulp was set. The square bustled with activity. Market stores filled the space, selling everything from fresh fish to exotic imports. The canal carried boats loaded with goods. By the mid-1600s, Amsterdam had developed sophisticated commercial infrastructure, merchant courts, a bank facilitating international transactions, and institutions like the VAR ensuring standardization. This combination of free market capitalism and intelligent regulation gave Amsterdam its competitive advantage. From the market's bustle, we moved to the elegant Klovenersburg-Vol Canal and the magnificent Trippenhouse completed in 1662. This was the residence of the Tripp, brothers arms dealers who made fortunes supplying weapons during the 80 Years' War. This is where Amsterdam's wealth became visible. Canal houses weren't just homes. They were architectural masterpieces announcing success. The Trippenhouse, with its 8 Corinthian columns, was among the most impressive. Notice the building's width, extremely rare in Amsterdam, where property was taxed on canal frontage. The Tripp brothers could afford extravagance. Inside featured marble halls, gilded ceilings, and priceless art collections. These canals represented deliberate urban planning. Unlike medieval cities with winding streets, Amsterdam's 17th century expansion was mathematically precise, creating thousands of building plots sold to merchants and aristocrats. Living here meant you were Amsterdam's elite, the regents and merchants who ran the economy and commissioned portraits by masters like Rembrandt and Vermeer. Here stands the Amsterdam Exchange, designed by Griek Dijzer and completed in 1611. This was the nerve center of global capitalism, where the modern financial world was effectively invented. Step into this courtyard and you're surrounded by merchants from across Europe and beyond, shouting prices, negotiating deals, buying and selling not just physical goods, but shares in companies, futures contracts, and bills of exchange. The Amsterdam Exchange was the world's first stock exchange in the modern sense. When the Dutch East India Company issued shares in 6002, they could be traded here. This created liquidity. Investors could get their money back without waiting for ships to return from Asia. Amsterdam's merchants didn't just trade, they innovated. They developed short selling, options trading, and speculative futures. The city even experienced the world's first major bubble, tulip mania, in 1637, when tulip bulb prices reached absurd heights before crashing. The exchange was open to anyone with capital or credit, regardless of background. By the 1650s, Amsterdam was the undisputed financial capital of the world. We arrive now at Dam Square, the absolute heart of Amsterdam. This vast space was the original dam on the Amst River, and by the 1600s had become the centre of civic, commercial and social life. In the centre stands the town hall, which burned down in 1652 and was replaced by the even more magnificent structure that still stands today, now the Royal Palace. This building housed the city government, the burgomasters and council members who ran Amsterdam with remarkable efficiency. Amsterdam was a republic within a republic. The Dutch Republic had no king, just a loose confederation of provinces. Amsterdam, as the wealthiest city, wielded outsized influence. The saying went, "Amsterdam merchants wear no crowns, but hold the purse strings of kings." The square bustled perpetually. Markets filled the space. Public executions occasionally occurred here. Festivals, celebrations and announcements all happened on Dam Square. Look at the diversity. Wealthy merchants, sailors from the East Indies, servants, soldiers, clergymen and beggars. Amsterdam's population exploded from 50,000 in 1600 to over 200,000 by 1650, making it one of Europe's largest cities. Rising above the Western Canal Belt stands the Westkerk, the Western Church. Its tower, the Westtoren, sources 85 mm, making it the tallest structure in 1600s Amsterdam and a beacon visible for miles. Completed in 1631 and designed by Rik Dijzer, the Westkerk represents the pinnacle of Dutch Renaissance architecture. In a city where commercial buildings often took precedence, this church announced that Amsterdam valued spiritual life and civic pride. This was a Protestant church reflecting the Calvinist faith that dominated Amsterdam after joining the Dutch revolt against Catholic Spain. The interior was deliberately austere, no lavish Catholic decorations. The focus was on the Word of God delivered through sermons in a plain but dignified space, the church's most famous resident. In 1669, Rembrandt van Rijn was buried somewhere within these walls, the artist who captured the soul of Amsterdam's golden age, resting in the shadow of this magnificent tower. And there you have it, a brief tour of Amsterdam in the 1600s, a city that rose from water to become the wonder of the world. We intend to produce many more of these AI reconstructions, so please let us know in the comments which city you'd love to see next, and it may be featured in the next video. Thanks for watching, and as always, we'll see you in the past.